An article came out from Axios yesterday, and I'd just like to share it with you because it's important. What you're seeing is the lay of the land of those that never or rarely attend religious services. And I think this is really important for us Catholics because we need to understand our populations that we live in. If I live in Michigan, and so you can see in Michigan, it's pretty solidly 50%. We have Muslims, we have Protestants, we have Chaldean Catholics that are here. The Chaldeans and the Muslims are probably the ones that are raising up that number in terms of those that are practicing, because we do have so many empty buildings or near empty buildings, whether you're talking about Catholics or Protestants. And so it's really important to understand where you live, what it's like, but also what it's like compared to other states, on a macro micro level. So the macro level being the United States, the macro micro level being, say, a diocese. The bishop should understand what's going on in his diocese, but also in comparison to other dioceses. For example, what they do in Washington should not be what they do in Florida. Knowing that and seeing that, we should deal with the populations that we have effectively. We see that with St. Paul. St. Paul went to the Greeks and argued and debated with them and brought out the fact of their unknown God and tried to explain it in their terms. Same thing with St. Francis. I mean, he would go to sultans, and so that's something that I could learn, because I live around Muslims. But the understanding though is that how you approach what's going on is going to change depending on where you live. And it's really important from the standpoint of those, especially in the previous generation, that used this misappropriated St. Francis quote, which is, preach the gospel at all times, use words if necessary. And I say misappropriated because there's no documentation to actually show St. Francis saying this. But it's used all the time. And in my opinion, it has been used a lot of the time for convenience, for not going out there and evangelizing effectively. But this is also really important from the standpoint of us Catholics, because we make up a minority of practicing. Of those that say they are what they are, so for example, Protestants, of all Protestants, 30% of them attend weekly service. That's 28% for Muslims, 23% for Catholics, and then 16% for Jews. Interestingly enough, I should say, Catholics went up, because I did a comparison between the TLM and the Novus Ordo in terms of weekly mass attendance, and that number was significantly lower than 23. I think it was 17 or 18%. So the fact that number has gone up, that's great. That is empower, that should be edifying to us, that a bigger proportion of Catholics are actually practicing. And I know it sounds so weird. That sounds so weird to say, but that's where we are right now. But I just thought this would be helpful, because even though we practice the principle of subsidiarity to follow God and evangelize, spread the kingdom in our area, that it is helpful to understand the lay of the land, to understand where our fellow men and women are in wherever they are in, I guess, walking in faith, whatever their journeys are, right? That's the thing. But really, it's what they are and what they're doing. In Maine, for example, I would expect a humanitarian is going to be looking at the Catholics and not necessarily understand the difference between what they're doing. The humanitarian will probably have, a cat and be called a cat mother, and the practicing Catholic will have children. That's just an example, but they won't necessarily know why, and they won't understand simply because you're doing what they're doing, because so much of humanitarianism is a copy paste of Christianity, removing aspects of Christ and just simply saying it's from our ability to do things that is how we're able to be good. That's going to be different than me, for example, dealing with the population here with Muslims and Protestants and a lot of lapsed Catholics. And so that's, again, very important to know on a macro micro level. It is also important to know for you and me, to better understand our populations based off a relative comparison between states. And so I hope that this has been helpful in that regard, because at the end of the day, we're trying to promote the faith. We're trying to spread the kingdom to the world. That is our goal. That is our mission. Thank you for watching, and have a great day. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.